affidavit was served, or rather handed to us around about 9 o'clock this morning for purposes of the opposition of this application and the interest of justice. The state requests a remand to tomorrow in terms of section 50, subsection 6 of the Criminal Procedure Act. I reiterate, we don't apply for instance, a week or less, as is allowed in the subsection, but only for 1 day. Give us opportunity to answer to each and every of these aversions. May I say that I've attempted to peruse it quickly, and as far as I can ascertain, we disagree with the better part of 90% of what is alleged here. So the state needs to file a proper and comprehensive sworn affidavit by the investigating officer, and I shall make my final decision pertaining to whether he will testify or not, or whether we shall rely on the affidavit by him before we get to court tomorrow. It will probably be the latter. May I say that we have started compiling papers in this regard. It is not a question of the state having done nothing. Since it came to our knowledge that the accused will be extradited. So it's just a question of finalizing the opposition to the
Thank you, Your Worship. Your Worship, we start first by quoting, or rather referring to, the relevant provision in the Constitution that applies to bail applications. It requires that an accused be released lest they be arbitrarily held. Arbitrary in that without just cause. There may be reasons that the state may have to keep the accused or the applicant overnight. We state that that is a further violation of her rights because she deserves not to be detained for a second longer. As things currently stand on the 12th of August, she has been detained uninterrupted for a period of 4 months. That is 80 times longer than any of her co-accused, and which is why we were emphatic on quoting the section on equality, which is to say, if her co-accused were able to be released on bail and the state was able to oppose their bails and have its case ready on the day that they applied for bail, then there is no reason that Ms. Cholota should spend even an hour longer than she needs to. The second point that is raised by the state, Your Worship, that we wish to oppose, or rather that we wish to respond to, the state knew as far back as July that Ms. Cholota had been extradited, and that is being generous with the time, because if memory serves me correctly, it was May that the decision was made. No, it was June, my apologies, it was June, and then the decision was referred to the Secretary of State, and that is when submissions were asked, but the decision in and of itself was made towards the end of July. So from the end of July, they have known that she would be back, that any and every opposition that they would have to make, there's nothing that we have raised in the papers that is new that the state has not known, or known that we hadn't raised prior conversations with the state. But most importantly, Your Worship, we had a conversation telephonically with the state prosecutor, Mr. Dination, and on Friday, and he, as far back as then, confirmed that they were going to be opposing bail. And so he could have prepared himself, interviewed the investigating officer. That did not warrant sight of our bail application, and he could have had his case ready so that we are able to proceed, but that was not the case. And so our submission is that it cannot possibly be said that his wanting more time so that he can go into his job is sufficient to justify Ms. Cholota's arbitrary detention for longer than need be. Now, to the regular person, perhaps a night in jail is nothing less than a night in jail. But for someone who has spent 4 months in prison, an hour longer than need be in jail is too much. And so we really implore this court to consider itself bound by the Constitution, and also to consider that the interests of justice have never been more necessary to call in than in this matter. There's no reason that Ms. Cholota should be in jail, and there's no reason that she should be in jail overnight so that the state prosecutor can do a job that he has known days in advance that he needed to do. The